Hi babes and welcome back to another video. My name is Nikki for those of you who are new here, and for those of you who are not, like I said, welcome back. You already know the drill. Today we're going to be doing a really smoky, beautiful halo cut crease. I am obsessed with this look. Today we're using the California Love palette. I feel like this video that I did on this palette did blow up on my channel quite a little bit, so I feel like a lot of you probably have this, and if you don't, honestly, just dig up any palette, a Morphe palette, any bronze palette. Alright guys, starting out with a fresh face, and if you are a loyal subscriber and you watch a lot of my videos, you will notice that my eyebrows look lighter. Just because I dyed them. Again, I hadn't dyed them in a hot minute, but normally my mom does it for me, and this time I think I left it on too long. They look a little lighter than I would have wanted, but also, like, I'm not upset. Like, it's fine. So I'm gonna go in. I want really dewy skin. I feel like spring and summertime, like, coming around, like, makes you just crave that. And like, I haven't self-tanned and like I haven't been outside, so like what I'm trying to get out of this look is hopefully to look super bronzy and beautiful, and like if I had been outside in the sun and just like glowy, you know? So I'm going to start with my Hangover RX primer from Too Faced. This is their like large version of it, but you definitely do not have to go in with this one. I actually was able to find this one at TJ Maxx, so that's why I got it. But it's just like a moisturizing primer. You could always just use a moisturizer and then go in with primer. I love to keep my videos very much drugstore or affordable makeup. To be honest, that's like $42 maybe more dollars, and I just wouldn't spend the money on it. Like, I don't think it's that worth it, but I think I spent like 14 bucks on it, and it's a really large tube. For me, yes, it was worth it, but unless you find that TJ Maxx for like a really good deal, girl, just don't even get it, okay? Like, let me just be real with you. Next I'm gonna go with the NYX Away We Glow primer. This is a super like strobing cream primer situation. It's in the shade Bright Star. Even if you just put it on by itself, it leaves your skin with this really nice glow. It's kind of like the MAC strobe cream, but right now I just look like a tin man. Like, my skin looks very shiny, and so we're gonna go ahead and put on some foundation to kind of mattify that. And I'm gonna go in with the Wet n Wild Photofocus foundation in the shade Bronze Beige. This is not the dewy one. I personally don't own the dewy one, and I don't think I will ever pick it up because I'm just not into dewy makeup like that. Also, the dewy one doesn't have a scent. This one has that very much like paint smell, which I wish they would get rid of, but you know, for now, I bet they'll eventually get around to it, hopefully. But I didn't want to go with like a super matte foundation. This one is a little bit matte, like on the matte side, but it's definitely a little bit more natural than some of my other foundations. I'm just gonna go ahead and work this into the skin. By the way, I'm using the BEIGE sponge. I did feature the sponge in my best and worst of like my sponges collection video, and it's definitely one of my favorites. It is so good and so swishy and just fantastic. So next I'm gonna go in with my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I have mine in the shade Medium Peach, and it's just like a really great like shade for me. It's brightening, it's got that yellow undertone I really like, it's full coverage. Normally I mix this one with a matte one, but honestly I feel like my skin needs a little bit more hydration than normal, so we're just gonna take all the like dewier products that I have and kind of slap them on my face. But I am gonna make sure to set this because honestly I cannot go like without setting it. So I'm gonna go ahead and set with my Maybelline Fit Me powder. I'm like running out of this one. I do have a backup. You can see it definitely is more hydrating than the e.l.f. matte one if you guys like are familiar with it. It's more of a satin finish though. It's not like super gooey or like slippy. So after I've set, and I do have a lot of powder sitting on my nose, I'm going in with the Maybelline Better Skin powder, and I have mine in the shade Classic Ivory. It's almost out, guys. So just taking in a really large powder brush. This one is from Equate, and I like to make sure that I'm pressing my powder in rather than swiping it around, because sometimes swiping, if you haven't set an area, number one, it can like, the brush can like pick up your foundation underneath, and you get way more coverage from your powder foundations when you are pressing instead of swiping. Okay, that looks like a really nice canvas. I'm really happy with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and bronze up the skin, and I've honestly been using this bronzer non-stop because they did just come back with it. This is the Morphe Glamabronze bronzer in the shade Icon. The packaging is different now. It doesn't have like this pink stuff, but yeah, Morphe came back with it for this summer, and they extended their shade range. So if you guys weren't able to get it in your shade, or you like just weren't able to get your hands on it, whatever, like now they definitely brought it back, and I'm just really happy with that because this is honestly like such a dupe for the like Marc Jacobs Omega bronzer. If you guys have seen it, it literally looks like the same thing, especially this color. So So then for nose contour, I love using the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. This is just in the original bronzer shade. If you guys have been following me for a while, this is like one technique that doesn't really change up in my routine. I pretty much always just do the same thing because I found that it works for me. It's consistent, it's easy, and I've pretty much made it foolproof for myself. So you guys, I recently have been having to do my makeup like in a rush sometimes, and I've noticed that like in the past like few months or whatever, but like I've noticed that every time I do my makeup even slightly rushed, I notice it doesn't look as good. Like I either have like some splotchy marks or like whatever, like I didn't take my time and something isn't as blended or looks a little muddy or something. Like really like taking your time with your makeup and doing it in like a calm headspace and giving yourself enough time is like one of the biggest tips I can give you guys if you're starting and you're like, my makeup doesn't look good. Like just bear with yourself and give yourself time, because I'm telling you, it makes all the difference. Okay, so now I'm going to jump in with my Checkleader Bronze Squad palette, and I'm going to go in with the original Hoola mixed with a little bit of Hoola Caramel to kind of just deepen up this outer like back area. I'm just going to use a small domed brush. Actually, I think I'm just going to stick to Hoola Caramel. It's really pigmented, so I make sure to tap off the excess. I don't know if this specific palette is still available, but they do sell like Cookie and Hoola Caramel separately, so you can totally get these separate, and they do have other palettes. They just don't have this specific one, I think, anymore. I think even when I was getting it, Ulta was like, oh, I don't have it, or they don't have it anymore. But then I was able to buy it from Sephora. So also guys, I love doing this. Take a blush that is kind of satiny or matte, and this is the Gold Rush blush from Benefit, and I love just taking like a stippling brush and blending, marrying, whatever you want to call it, that blush like into my bronzer, because it gives me like a very subtle blush to start out with, and I feel like it really does make my bronzer, highlight, and blush look so much more blended towards the end of my makeup routine. And again, it doesn't have to be this one. I do this routine with like any other blush that is like a matte or satin blush, and I use a stippling brush like this and just kind of make sure to work it up into my cheeks and everything, and like this area right here, and it looks so good. So then I'm going to make sure to just spray everything at this step. I think it makes such a difference when you're like, you lay all your matte products down first and like your bronzer and stuff, and then you go in with your highlight. So you can take any spray you like. I really like the NYX First Base Setting Spray and the NYX Bear With Me spray as well. So I'm just taking both of those, and then I'm just going to take my sponge and kind of like press that into my skin a little bit. The sponge is pretty damp. You want to make sure your sponge isn't too damp when you do this, otherwise it can actually pick up product and ruin your makeup. Been there, done that. Let me tell you, it's not fun. Okay, so at this step, I'm going to do my brows, and I will be right back. Okay guys, brows are done, and I went ahead and primed my eyelids just using some concealer. By the way, I did finally film my brow routine really in depth. I did it just now. So if you guys want to watch that video, it will be up shortly. If it's not already, I will make sure to pop it in the description of this video once it is uploaded. For eyeshadow today, we are going to be using the Colourpop California Love palette. This is an OG palette for me. It is so good. Literally, I think it was the very first Colourpop palette I ever purchased, and it is that good, you guys. This is such a good palette, so versatile, and it is a really great travel palette. And hello. Look at this beauty that I have created. I am obsessed. I feel so good, and I cannot wait to just like have this on both eyes because it's very exciting for me. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to make sure first and foremost that my primer, my concealer, is very much blended out because it's been a minute. The first thing I'm going to do is take a large fluffy blush, any one of your choice. We're going to get up and close and personal, and I'm going to go in with the shade Sequoia, and I'm going to start right between the end of my eye right here and where my brow bone spikes a little bit, or like my eyebrow kind of goes up, and I'm gonna start applying the most of this color here. Sequoia is truly like the most beautiful orange. It is a color that I haven't really dipped into that much in this palette, and I think this is my first time really playing with it, and just like wow, it makes any look come together like a sunset. So we're going to apply the most of it here, and then basically what I'm going to do is just take the brush and disperse. Like, because this is our first transition shade, I really need it to be everywhere. And because I want this look to really like outwards, you know, I'm going to make sure to apply enough of this color out on this outer edge of my eye towards the end of my brow bone, or my eyebrow as well. And also making sure to bring it all the way inward. You can see the edges of this eye right here have that sequoia color all the way inward as well. So we're going to make sure to apply it there too. Okay, so this is our first shade, and yes, it looks intense and a little bit all over the place, but we're going to make it work. So the next thing we're going to do, just jump in with another fluffy brush, and I'm going to go in with the shade Gold Rush. Again, orange, but it's definitely like a burnt orange, and I'm going to apply that in the same spot but just lower down, and making sure to just go in windshield wiper motions. Take that brush back and forth quickly and apply, making sure the most pigment is here, because I feel like this is the area that you want it to be darkest, and then you can always intensify it everywhere else after that. That's just like a good staple like thing you want to learn with any eyeshadow look, is that you want to deposit the most of your product like right here and then diffuse, because out here is generally where most eye looks are the deepest. So every time I pick up my brush, pick up more, I'm making sure to either bring it lower down or apply it right there. And I'm just going back and forth. I'm making sure that even though I need this look to be high enough on my eye, because my eyes are actually very hooded. So I'm creating a completely fake crease here. And so I need to make sure that I bring enough of this color high enough that when I cut it, it is still seen. Okay, so next I'm going to go back in with Sequoia. I think one of my favorite techniques when doing eyeshadows is going back and forth between eyeshadow colors so that you really don't lose the shade that you were using prior, and so that everything looks the most blended. If you really feel like you're losing the Sequoia shade, you can always just tap it on instead of like full on blending it, and then kind of like blend the edges. Then jumping into the color Highway 1. Yes, this color does have some shimmer. You can tap it off, but really it kind of just sits there. I didn't mind it. Most of it comes off anyway, and I'm starting right where I want the most color. So wherever on an eyeshadow look you want to apply the most intense pigment, you're gonna put your brush there first. So I want it to be really deep right here because I need it to peek through. I kind of lost it here, as you can see. I'm making sure to diffuse it upwards enough that it doesn't get completely lost. And really the deepest shade that we're gonna use is Highway 1. And so there is a deeper brown in this palette, but this one just seemed like such a warm brown, and if you build it up deep enough, it definitely gets to the intensity that we're looking for. By the way, I'm just using a more precise kind of domed fluffy brush for this. Pretty much any brush will work as long as it is precise enough and domed enough. This is from Morphe. It doesn't have a number on it because it's literally from like the first ever brush set that I purchased from them, which is like a million years old. It was still when they were like a very much indie brand. So then, because this is a halo eye, I'm going ahead and applying it to the inner corner and the outer corner and just packing on. And you can see I'm leaving very little of my eyelid open. That's just like the only places that this brush hasn't touched, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to take some concealer and clean that area up so that the next color that I want applies really nicely. Okay, so when I feel like this is intense enough, I'm going to stop and I'm going to go back in with my previous brush that I used the shade Gold Rush with, and I'm going to diffuse the edges. If you have bigger eyelids, this look will be so much easier for you to create. Definitely, I feel like I have to fake a big eye, you know what I mean? Like, I do not have very large eyes, so for me to really create something that looks amazingly large, I have to do a lot of work, a lot of blending, and I've honestly just had to learn my eye shape. So if you have hooded eyes, there is hope for you, I promise. Basically, I'm just going backwards now in the steps. So going back in with the shade Sequoia right now, making sure that on these outer edges I didn't quite lose it. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is take just a really flat brush. This is the Ulta Beauty flat concealer brush, and some concealer. I have some left over on the back of my hand, and you're going to want to mark the center area right here, and then I like to look up. And so when you look up, you know that at minimum you have to create the line for your cut crease to be at minimum right here, otherwise it will mess up your eyeshadow. However, I realized that the higher I take my cut creases, the bigger it makes my eye look, and I think that's the reason that I gravitate towards cut creases so much, is because as somebody who has hooded eyelids, now that I have mastered the cut crease technique, it really lets me make my eye look so much bigger than it is. So I'm going to put a little dot where I think the center of this one is, and then I'm going to work around it to kind of carve it out. By the way, I'm just using the Wet n Wild Photofocus concealer. Any concealer will work as long as it's not super dewy and as long as it's not a pot concealer. So I'm working upwards and just making sure I can get as crisp of a line as possible. The only part of this cut crease that has to be perfect is the actual cut right here, but the sides we can kind of fudge with the shimmer shade. Okay, once I am content, and I think I'm there, I'm gonna basically leave this alone, and because I do not have any nails on right now, I can just pat the sides of this eye look real quick. If not, you can always use just like a little dome brush and kind of press the sides, but this is good enough for me. Then what I'm gonna do is just take any flat brush, and we're gonna go into the shade Diego. I like to make sure that my brush is wet enough so that when I pick up the color of the shimmer shade, I can get as precise as possible to this little crease that I've created. So I did do a lot of tapping here because if I swiped, I felt like I was gonna mess up and like shadow was gonna fling, because this is a very like malleable eyeshadow. Okay, so once I'm content with this line, I'm gonna work downwards. And because we have created not only a really tacky base, but because we have wet our brush, not only is this eyeshadow going to stick really nicely, but it's gonna look super vibrant. This applies to any eyeshadow. You can do this look with any other eyeshadow palette as long as you have similar colors, or you can even like do the same steps with a completely different eyeshadow palette. So next I'm going to go back into the shade Highway 1, and I'm going to just begin to diffuse the brown with the gold on the center. I love me a good halo eye. I really think that this makes your eyes look super doughy and open and just like gorgeous. So it's definitely a technique to master. So I think everything up here looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and pop on some highlighter onto the inner corner. I'm going to use the Wet n Wild MegaGlow highlighting powder in the shade Precious Petals, but you could always just use the shade Cruisin' from the palette as well. I did mix them on the other eye, so I'm going to make sure to mix them on this one as well. I'm just using a little pencil brush. So I like the rose gold of this one, but the shade Cruisin' is like a really nice true gold, so I'm going to also pop some of that on there. Okay, and then we are going to go ahead and work on this lower lash line. One of the best tips that I have been doing is taking my wet beauty sponge and pressing along the bottom of my eye so that it's tacky and everything will stick there without removing my concealer, which was an issue I was having a lot before. The first thing I'm going to do with just a flat, fluffy brush, I'm going to take the shade The Bay. This is the first time we're using this shade in this look, but I wanted to make sure that my under eye wasn't too warm and didn't take away too much attention from the top. You could just leave it here, but I am going to make sure to deepen this up a little bit. And I'm going to take a teeny tiny little pencil brush and I'm going to go into the shade Highway 1, and I'm just going to apply it on this outer part of my eye right here, making sure that I get a nice kind of like eyeliner vibe going on. Plus it gives me a really nice easy way to connect the browns on this outer corner. Now we're going to move on to eyeliner. I'm going to tightline the top part of my eye with some black eyeliner. This one is the Wet n Wild Breakup Proof eyeliner. It is waterproof and honestly smudge proof. It is so good. And then I'm going to go in with the Covergirl liquid eyeliner. This is the Major Matte Black eyeliner and it is incredible. It is so matte and honestly just such a good eyeliner. So if you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend it. I definitely want an elongated, really sharp wing for this look. I really just feel like going all out. The lashes that I'm going to be using today are my new favorite drugstore lashes. These are the Salon Perfect Pre-Permed Push-Up Tight Curl Lashes. These are in this number 672. You guys, these are so good. So good. Probably the best lashes I think I've ever tried from the drugstore. So I'm just going to pop on some of my lash glue. By the way, I use the Broadway Eyes Lash Glue. It is waterproof, latex-free, and black. And I get it at the Dollar General. It is literally $2. So as my lash continues to dry, I'm gonna go ahead and do my lips real quick. If you guys watch me religiously at all, you know that I pretty much cannot put down this lip liner, but it is the LA Girl Perfect Precision Lip Liner in the shade Cafe. It is literally my baby. I have a backup of it. It is so good. It lasts me a really long time and it is like my perfect color. Then I'm gonna go in with the Wet n Wild High Shine lipstick in the shade Close Off. It's like just a really nice nude and it is a little shimmery, not shimmery but like glossy, which is totally fine by me, and you can leave the lips like this. But if you guys know me at all or watch my channel at all, you know that I'm a gloss girl. So I'm gonna go in with the Sexy Mother Pucker lip gloss in the shade Nude Star. This lip gloss is super juicy, and on top of all that, it is like the kind of lip gloss that makes your lips look really plump. A while ago, this was literally my favorite lip gloss, so I'm really glad to like try it out again. Alright guys, so that is it for eyes. Now I'm going to go ahead and highlight. I am just going to use my Makeup Revolution highlighter palette, and I'm just going to take this little champagne shade for my nose. Then I'm also going to take my Wet n Wild MegaGlow highlighting powder, and I'm just going to highlight certain areas of my face. I love to take this on my cheeks, but I like to make sure that I spray my face first and everything is like nice and dewy so that this clings really nicely. This mostly goes on the apples of my cheeks because when I smile it looks really nice in photos. And next, going back into the Revolution Pro Glow 2 palette, I'm just going to mix these two shades right here for like my highlight right at the top of my cheekbones. And last but not least, I'm going to pop on some more blush. I think today, in the drugstore spirit of things, I'm going to take the blush palette. This is a light blush palette from e.l.f. And I'm going to just take this like more caramelly shade, and that is going to be my blush today. I don't want anything too rosy or pink because this look is definitely more on the glowy, warm, nude, bronzy side. So the last thing that we're going to do is just spritz the face and make sure this is all set so that it lasts a really long time. I'm just going to go in with my NYX Bear With Me spray. Alright guys, so this is the finished look. Yes, I feel incredible. Definitely have lip gloss on my teeth. I wonder how long that's been there. This lip gloss is really juicy and I did apply a lot, so I feel like it's kind of like dripping everywhere, but that was like such a reality check. Like I was like, yes, I feel gorgeous, and then it's like, oh, I have lipstick on my teeth. Even with the lipstick on my teeth, I do feel really pretty. I feel like this look, this super bronzy look on the eyes and like the lashes and like just a great nude lip, like this is me. Like this is my kind of makeup look, so I really hope you guys enjoy it and recreate it. If you do recreate it, please tag me on Instagram. I would love to see it. It makes me so happy when you guys recreate my looks. So with that being said, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And I love you guys so much. Thank you for all your support, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.